you think we are? Where do you think our experience level? Where do we think we are as far as, combat capability as we turn and look towards near peer threats more and more? How do you feel about things?
Well, I think our guys are capable, and I think squadrons work hard, and I think they're still, the most capable aviators out there, but they're not as good as they want to be, and they don't get the opportunities to train that we would like them to have. We don't have the realistic threat that we'd like to train against. We don't have the simulator environment that we would like to have, and we're not flying enough on a daily basis. But, when I'd go down and talk to squadrons at Shaw and at Seymour and at other places, they'd say, hey, look, sir, with mission planning, briefing, execution, and debriefing, really about 3 events a week is all I can handle to do the way I've learned how to do it. So we tried to pivot toward, hey, let's talk about getting 12 events a month between flying and sims. And if it's the traditional bad weather months, and maybe you'll get a few more of those in the sim. If it's good flying weather, long flying days, you get more of it in flight. And then accept the fact that to do the training you need to search probably, once a month, whether that's just turning 2 sorties through the hot pits or whether that's flying multiple times and, getting 3 in a day, and realize that you won't get as much brief and debrief on those days, but you'll get reps in the airplane that you weren't getting. So I don't think guys are training as much as they would like to. I don't think they're training as much as their leadership would like them to. And we can talk around this a little bit and some of the whys if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. It is actually interesting having you in here. So General O'Malley Maestro, who's our wing commander when I was down there, and yep. I know you were his boss. The piece is actually interesting with this is we've talked about him on the podcast a couple of times. He actually called Uncle, and I don't know the dynamics between you and him and, how it went down with our flying hour program at Shaw, but that's a good example. I do remember there's one month in the month of July, I guess this would have been 2015, 2016, right before I did demo. I think I flew 25 times. It was too much, right? Like you never want to say that, but you're just churning out. You're just surviving. JAFAs start to go out there and fly. You're not briefing. You're not debriefing like you really should. And there's a balance to that. But I think he was one of the first wing commander. I mean, he was the 3rd wing commander I had at Shaw, and he was the first one that I think at least had that discussion of, hey, we got to throttle it back. We're breaking the pilots. We're breaking the jets. You talked about that a little bit.
I would. So part of what that Air Force I joined in 1983 when I got to my first op squadron, we were flying at that rate, but it took 5 years to get there. When Joe Creech, who was still the TAC commander at the time, when he took over, the bottom had fallen out to the point that they were flying about as small an amount as guys are now. So airplanes and pilots were flying 7 or 8 hours a month. And Joe Creech came in and did several things to try to teach units how to fly again. We started down the path of doing a lot of those same things in 2017, and we're making progress. Shaw was actually up to where they were flying their RAP more months than not, and we're working toward, having better trained crews until COVID came in and we had to go to split maintenance crews and do some things. But there's a slippery slope, as Joe Creech called it, and we got introduced into this because of the frequent deployment. So again, that Air Force I was in, we went to red flag twice, 3 times a year. We went to shoot missiles once. We were probably gone 90 or 120 days a year, but it was 2 weeks at a time, no long deployments. And so we could, we kept that pace up. We flew when we were gone. We flew when we were at home. And we would occasionally go checker flag to Europe for a month to go to the base that we would fly against the Warsaw Pact from, if we were going to do that. But we were there and we were at home and we flew a lot. When we started doing the longer deployments to the desert, we started taking time off when we got back, which was deserved and justified. But then we also gave ourselves permission to fly less. And we started, flying only 2-go days. We started doing 1-go Fridays. We went back and back and back, and we kind of forgot the techniques that it takes to schedule maintenance and train maintainers to be able to generate those sorties. As a squadron commander, the 27th Fighter Squadron, so, 20 years later, we worked hard ops and maintenance to where we flew 327 sorties in 3 days 100 plus a day for 3 days. But the way we did it was by the time-honored focus on scheduling airplanes so that you were putting the right maintainers on them at the right time to get the work done that you needed to do to keep them ready, and training maintainers, training 5-level maintainers to be able to support and sustain that, excuse me. And at the end of that 3 days, our jets, I had 2 broken jets for CGBs that had burned up from all the hot pit refueling, but the jets were in good shape. Jets like to fly. Over time, we gave ourselves permission to fly less, and we let our days fill up with other things that we didn't used to do when we were flying 25 times a month. So there is a trade-off between the quality of brief and debrief and flying. 25 is probably not the right answer, but 8 is not the right answer. And somewhere in there, I think around 12 to 16 events a month is about the right answer for the 4th gen and 5th gen airplanes and the complexity that they pose that we're flying now.